test. We're testing our audio. Can someone give us a thumbs up if you can hear us online? There we go.
Very good. Okay, I'll start over. I'll call our special meeting to order. Thank you for coming to participate. I hope you can hear me okay. Because we have council members joining us remotely, I'll start by calling the roll. Adrian?
Adrian Gill, District 1.
Then you're Carrie?
Carrie Brown, District 3.
And Jim?
Jim Sheridan, District 3.
Palin?
Palin Cohn, District 2.
Sal?
Sal Alfano, District 2.
Okay, thank you. A note about meeting logistics. Anyone who's appearing remotely, please change your name display to indicate your first and last name. And if anyone wants to speak, you must be recognized by the mayor, and we'd ask you to start by stating your name and where you live. Ask you to keep your comments or questions to under 3 minutes. If you speak out of turn, discuss non-germane topics, go on too long, etc., you may be interrupted and asked to adjust your comments or behavior. First item is to approve the agenda. I had actually planned to add a couple of items to the agenda, and there were a couple of requests for other items to be added to the agenda. And it turns out upon research by the clerk that for a special meeting, it's not possible to add items to the agenda. So I would ask council members to simply indicate that the agenda is satisfactory as proposed. Hearing no objection, we'll move forward to general business and appearances. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to address the council on any topic that is not on today's agenda. As with other parts of the agenda, you must be recognized by the mayor before you address the council, and in this part of the agenda, comments are limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone in the room who would like to address the council? Ken?
I just want to thank Kelly Murphy.
You probably need to be here because we're using the owl as
I got it.
our audio.
Good morning, good afternoon, Ken Russell. I'm director of Another Way in Montpelier, and Kelly, thank you for your great service to the city. Really, you've been fantastic. Thank you for supporting the homelessness task force. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Ken. Yes, Connor.
Hi, I'm Beth Ann Mayer. I'm a deacon at Christ Church on State Street. And last night was the first night in over 2 years that there was not a place for people to come indoors at nighttime when the temperature fell below 10 degrees. And it got very cold last night. We are searching for a location for the emergency cold weather shelter that has operated for the last 2 years at the Unitarian Church. This year, we are very hopeful that the Unitarian Church will be the site of a nightly shelter for 15 beds, which will replace some of the beds that were available at the Elks Club last year. So the emergency cold weather shelter opens when the temperature is below 10 degrees. Last year, that was for 45 nights. And we are requesting the city to supply a site for this shelter when the temperature drops that low. The areas we've looked at are the recreation building, the senior center, the main hallway of the city hall, whatever can bring people indoors safely for the night. We have looked in many, many places and without success.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ken, I'm sorry, Rick.
Yeah.
I know there's the difference.
Hi, I'm Rick DeAngelis, resident of Montpelier, but I'm wearing a hat of being a project coordinator for something called the Emergency Cold Weather Shelter Program. And this is a program that's run by Vermont Interfaith Action, and it's funded by the state of Vermont. The sad reality is these are very tough times in Vermont. We've got a lot of unsheltered people around the state, and the state designated 7 communities as high priority areas for this winter. Burlington, Brattleboro, Bennington, Rutland, Montpelier, Barry, and Newport. And it's been tough to get spaces in each of those communities. But fortunately, we have them in all the other communities. I wanted to point out to you that at least in one case in the city of Rutland, they did designate a city-owned property, the library that's being used on these especially cold nights as their emergency shelter. So it's a tough thing, but it's an important thing. And we're standing behind these guys. We're providing them with funding and support to try to make this as safe and seamless as possible. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. You answered one of the questions I had, which was, does the designation by the state come with the dollars or other actions?
Yeah, I can't remember we've already made a grant to this group. I think it's in the $50,000-$60,000 range.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks.
30,000.
30? I just doubled it right there.
Okay.
How do you like that?
Thanks. Anybody else would like to be heard? Fine.
Thank you. I'm Andrea Stander. I'm a resident of Montpelier, but I'm also working with the Emergency Cold Weather Shelter. And I just wanted to thank you, Mayor McCullough, for accepting our communication about the urgency of this issue, and also thank the other counselors who've been in communication about helping us solve this problem. We are, as Beth said, we've been turning over every stone in town, looking at every possible space. So we're really looking for help at this point, because I can tell you, I didn't sleep last night thinking about the people who were outside. And I just hope that we can find a solution by working together and being creative and, figuring out what we can do. So thank you for the
Thanks,
opportunity.
Jared?
Thank you, Mayor McCullough, City Councilors. My name is Jared Duval. I'm a resident of Montpelier, live on Elm Street. I am appearing today as a member of the board alongside Beth Ann and others of the Montpelier Emergency Cold Weather Shelter. I just wanted to provide a little bit of additional context. Our volunteer operations for the last 2 years have been really lucky to receive the support of over 50 volunteers who've stepped up to be able to, we have 2 people per shift for 3 shifts overnight to make sure that 2 people are awake at all times for safety reasons. There has never been an ideal site for an emergency cold weather shelter in the city. The last 2 years, it's been the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, which itself was not ideal. It's not sprinklered, which is one of the reasons. I mean, we have people awake overnight for safety reasons anyway, but that was part of the conditions of the fire marshal department. And so, I think there's not going to be an ideal situation anywhere, but I think it's really urgent that we find a space as soon as possible. My understanding is that the nightly shelter that the Unitarian Church is planning to host this year likely will not open until Wednesday of next week at the earliest. And so there is the possibility, if we have nights below 10 degrees, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week, that could be a space. But as we
It just
I've
froze.
lost all audio.
Yeah, I think that one's locked up.
I'll run down and let him know.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'll let them know.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me online? Okay, we're just having some technical difficulties in the room. Thanks for bearing with us. Yeah. Oops.
Invokes.
Thumbs up if you can hear, please.
Okay, great. Start from the beginning. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So my name is Jared Duval. I'm a resident of Montpelier. I live on Elm Street. I am here today as a member of the very recently formed Montpelier Emergency Cold Weather Shelter Board. And our situation, as Beth Ann said, is that we are urgently in need of a space to be able to host an emergency shelter. We have, for the last 2 years, operated this shelter out of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier with over a volunteer list of over 50 generous people who are taking 3 shifts overnight. We do 8 to midnight, midnight to 4, 4 to 8. We have 2 people awake at all times to help people come in, make sure that people get set up and are safe. The challenge facing us now is that, as Beth Ann said, the nightly shelter that had previously been hosted at the Elks Club is now likely to be hosted at the Unitarian Church, taking that space away as an emergency shelter. Yet the need for shelter beds has only increased in the last year. We have tried as a board to identify another space. We have looked at every other downtown church in Montpelier. None has been found suitable by the fire marshal. Even the Unitarian Church was not ideal last year. That was part of the permit, or the waiver that was granted by the fire marshal, was that we had to have 2 people awake at all time because it was not a sprinklered building. I do not think we're going to find an ideal building anywhere in Montpelier, but we have to make something work. This is an urgent situation that is literally life and death when people are having to be exposed to the elements overnight at temperatures below 10 degrees below zero, below negative 10. We had 45 nights last winter where we operated to provide emergency shelter when it was below 10 degrees. So the request, my understanding, is that the nightly shelter that is planned to operate out of the Unitarian Church this year will likely not start until Wednesday at the earliest. And so there is the possibility that if there are nights below 10 degrees this Sunday through Tuesday, the emergency shelter will be able to operate out of that space. But beyond that, we do not have a space. And if we look ahead in the forecast, I just looked recently, I think next Sunday is supposed to be under 10 degrees overnight. I think we have, a week at most to identify a site to prevent people from, needlessly suffering because of exposure to extreme weather. So I want to thank the mayor for the time, the council. We've gotten very fast responses and quick and collaborative thinking. I know from Councilor Sheridan, Councilor Doyle, Councilor Gill. I'm sure there are other. I just hope that we can work together. I know there's not going to be an ideal site, but we need. So appreciate the time and hope that we can identify something as soon as possible, and willing to work with you. I know our board is, Andrea as our coordinator, as much as possible, as quickly as possible to make that happen. Thank you for your time. Thanks, sir.
It's going to switch audio here real quick. Okay, can everybody hear us again? Great.
Thanks, Melanie.
B. Whitaker, Montpelier. This is not a new emergency, and it's not okay to leave people out. Not only at 10 degrees, it's not okay to leave them out at 20 degrees or even 30 degrees. This has been 5 years or 6 years since the homelessness task force was created, and y'all have done nothing. And then when people propose using the buildings that we own, City Hall or the senior center, we get like pushback as if these managers, these overpaid managers, own these properties. Those are our properties, and y'all are treating this like an emergency that, oh, we're gonna throw a little, Band-Aid here or a piece of baling wire, duct tape somewhere else. This is unconscionable. This is a failure of your administration. This is a failure of your administration, and you've heard about it again and again, and you've done nothing about it. And to even have the necessity of this appeal, everyone's being so, so subservient to y'all's dysfunction is really unconscionable. Y'all should resign. You should resign, and we should get some people in here who have some compassion and some integrity to remedy this mess.
Peter.
You should resign.
Peter Kalman, I live in Montpelier. I'm glad that these folks were able to explain the situation to you. I actually coordinated volunteers for emergency cold weather in 2021 to 22. And I saw firsthand how critically important it was. But I'm here to talk about another issue that's not on the agenda. I learned this morning that not only is Kelly leaving, but so is Sarah LaCroix. That's two people who would have led us through the budget. The press release or the letter that Kelly wrote said that Sarah was going to end at a certain date in December, can't remember exactly which it was, and take some time off, but would see the budget through. There was language about seeing the budget through in Kelly's resignation as well. My question, which you don't have to answer, but I hope you will answer to yourselves, how is that going to happen? They both have other jobs. How are they going to lead this budget? And at the same time, we have a search for a city manager, which is down to 3 candidates. And I've seen some discussion about some of the issues around all 3 of them. I hope that in making your decisions about this, you're not going to feel we got to have somebody, even if they're not really going to fit the bill. It is possible to bring in somebody from the outside, go to the League of Cities and Towns, bring in somebody from the outside who will be a real interim until we find the right person. I'm not saying that these 3 people, one of them may be the right person, but if you're not convinced that they are the right person, and particularly at this point where we have this additional loss of staff, when these people applied, they didn't know that Kelly and Sarah were going to be leaving. Maybe some of them are going to withdraw because of that. I don't know, but I think you should be thinking about a plan B, maybe even a plan C. I've been a consultant and worked in businesses that had similar situations. We brought in a seasoned, retired person to be a real interim. And I really think you should consider that as you approach the next stage of the search, and that you will have a real plan for how the budget was going to be a bitch anyway. You know that. you know, how, sensitive people are right now around taxes, tax issues.
And thanks, Peter. I just want to address this a little bit. Yes, we've already started talking about coverage and transition. We're going to be discussing that more at our meeting next week. I agree with you 100% that hiring someone just because this is a pool of candidates we have, even if we're not happy with the person we're hiring, is always a mistake. And I don't think anyone wants to do that. I'm hopeful that one of the candidates will be someone that everyone can get behind. And just speaking for myself, I have no problem if no candidate emerges as being someone who meets our needs of opening the entire search and saying we need to bring more possibilities. And there will be more on this coming up next week.
Jack, can I just add one thing? Because you made me realize one more thing.
Yeah, very quickly, please.
I'll make it very quick. Since they didn't know about that people were going to be leaving and so forth, the person you pick might make demands. So not only do you need to be clear about not picking someone who isn't ideal, don't give in to demands that could bite you later.
Thanks.
Jack, could I just say one thing? I just want to say, and I know we're not discussing this, but I completely agree with the idea. If we don't find the right person, we should not hire them. I also just want to say, from my point of view, we have had a real interim city manager for quite some time. Thank you.
Who has done a great job. Anyone else under general business and appearances? And I don't see anybody online raising it. Oh,
I did not understand the structure of the meeting. May I speak to another topic?
About
The cold weather.
yeah, just keep it very limited.
Sorry. Ken Russell, Director of Another Way in Montpelier. Yeah, we actually had movie night last night at Another Way. And we were able to help keep some people warm last night. It is a challenge for our mission as an organization. And this has been an ongoing issue. We think there are 200 to 250 people living outside in Washington County. And the state that can't even tell us right now how many motel rooms are available. Our memorial wall in Another Way we think we may have lost somebody else overnight. It's overwhelming, the losses. And one thing is I'd like an answer. Is public camping allowed in the city of Montpelier? Because there seem to be different messages people have been receiving. Jack, do you know the answer to that?
We have a policy, the camping policy, and that's what I can tell you. Our policy does not it does not talk to the members of the public and say you can do this or you can't do that. The policy says to city employees, here's how you handle it if you encounter people who are camping outside. But ordinarily, I would not expect to see people who are camping outside and not in a place that's been designated as a sensitive area. I would not expect to see people be forced to move.
Okay, so I mean, we're hearing different messages from people within the city, allegedly. And I'll just recall before there was a court change, there was that case in Idaho that said if you don't have enough shelter space, then you can't ban camping within the premises. And I remember at the time you were saying that's persuasive legally, locally. And given what's going on in DC right now, I think it's important that Montpelier takes a stand. I mean, we're seeing money.
Well, let me jump in.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court went the other way on that.
I know.
But as mayor, and I think I speak for the whole council to say that just because the Supreme Court said we can prosecute someone that doesn't mean we're going to.
That's, yeah, and then your clarity is part of what I'm seeking. I appreciate that. And so can I tell people, I mean, I have people coming to me at Another Way who they're telling me they've been told that there's no place for them in the city. They need to leave Montpelier. And so I'm hearing you say that that would not reflect city
I
policy.
don't think people should be told that.
Okay, so it does not
Police
reflect.
department doing it.
Okay. And then just one more thing, keeping it brief, we're going to have a vigil in the State House steps on the 22nd, longest night vigil at 4:30 to 5 to remember people we've lost outside, and there are far too many. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. All right. Anybody else on this? Seeing none.
Jim's got his hand.
Oh, Jim, sorry. Didn't see your hand.
Thank you. I would like to ask a question. If we can take emergency action in this meeting with a motion.
I guess I'm unclear. It what you mean, but I don't think we can because we have an agenda and we've been advised that we can't add to the agenda.
Yeah, under the law, the subject of the meeting has to be warned 24 hours in advance, not just that there is a meeting. So a different subject cannot be added on.
Who's that speaking?
That's the city clerk. So there's your answer. I'd like to move to the next item on the agenda, which is
Jack, can I just ask one more question before
Yeah.
we move on? What would need to happen in order to make city space available for the overflow shelter? And I feel like I also just need to say, for point of transparency, my mom actually serves on the overflow shelter group, but it's different. But I'm just curious, like, what would need to happen to make the spaces that have been identified as city-owned property available?
Kelly, do you have a response?
Sure. So I mean, I think if we were to identify a space, we would need to make sure that they were adequately staffed. And we would need to make sure that the sort of operations of those spaces could still continue. And so each of the spaces that have been identified are not ideal. And I understand that, none of the spaces would be ideal. But that's there's a lot that would go into that. And so for starters, what we have said in the past is that, if we were to offer a city space, we would need to have professional staff. We typically, do not offer space with volunteer staff. We would also need to take a look at the insurance, just to see if that would be allowed in any particular location. And then we would have some pretty significant staff capacity issues associated with it. I will say also that, we are not a social service agency. And so we do not have that capacity on staff currently. And so it's a little bit of a struggle because, we do not want to see people suffer. We, don't want people to be outside if they don't need to be. I will say that there are more beds in Montpelier with permanent space than there have been. So that's positive. It is the emergency piece that is proving to be particularly tricky. And so it's a long-winded way of saying that, it would need to be adequately staffed and we would need to have the proper safety protocols in place, whether that be with public safety or insurance.
Thanks, Kelly. Part of the reason that I was really feeling that we should have this on the agenda for Wednesday is because it's a bigger discussion and hopefully some things can be worked out between now and then. I don't know if they can be, but things come up on you fast. Carrie.
Yeah, I have a similar question to that, wondering if it's necessary for the city council to direct that this happen or to approve it. It seems to me like something that staff could make happen without city council having to approve it, but I just wanted some clarity on that so that we can move as quickly as we can if we need to.
I agree with that, Carrie. I think that if the space were identified and all those things in place, I think that's probably within the authority of the city manager.
Great.
Adrian?
Yeah, just following up. I mean, I did send an email this morning that I think this would fall within the city staff's purview, because city council did approve the facility use agreement for the American Red Cross, which could be used in an emergency management situation, which we did approve the Montpelier Senior Activity Center as an approved building for an emergency management shelter. And so, legal review, kind of pulling this back up, dusting it off, and seeing if this is, we had extensive conversation about this last December 11th, 2024, for this particular instance. So I would like to pull that up and see if this could stand as something that we've already approved, and kind of move forward with that if it's applicable.
Thanks, Adrian. All right. I think at this point, we're on to the next agenda item, which is,
Carrie
Oh.
was raising her hand, but no.
oh, Carrie,
Okay.
you're done? Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. The purpose for today's meeting actually was to address the open meeting law violation and to give a little context. We received a complaint from a resident alleging violations of the open meetings law. The council has already met and determined that two of those alleged violations did not in fact violate the statute. With regard to the third claimed violation, the city council met and recognized that there was a violation of the open meetings law that triggered a requirement on our part to meet and take action to clarify that it's not going to happen again, to cure it. And so that's what we're meeting for today. And with that, is it to you, Kelly?
Sure. So Jack kind of outlined, where we stand. And just to be clear, the claim, on record is just the exiting of the meeting in the physical space. The electronic meeting was still going on virtually. And so we have recommended corrective action to council, in that, we would take action to update our standard operating procedures, and have the following language that I'd just like to read for the record. So you have it. And this is guidance for executive sessions. Specifically, this is a particular instance. And I think this, kind of flows with what we've got going on here. I'd also like to note that we do have Attorney Michael Tarrant on the call here, so he might jump in terms of just providing any detail associated with the cure. But I will note what the cure is that staff has come up with to recommend, and then we can kind of take it from there. So the first piece here is, so I'll just read the language. Guidance for executive sessions. When council moves to enter executive session and adjourn the meeting immediately upon their return without taking any further action, at least one city staff person will remain in the physical location until the meeting adjourns to ensure compliance with 1 VSA 3:12(2)D. D states, if a quorum or more of members of the public body attend the meeting without being physically present, just put my page here, sorry. Designated meeting location, the agenda required under section D of the section shall designate at least one physical location where a member of the public can attend and participate in that meeting. At least one member of the public body or at least one staff member or designee of that public body shall be physically present at each of the designated meeting locations. The meeting of the subdivision shall not apply to advisory bodies. And so we just highlighted the state statute there just to, underscore compliance with this item.
And Kelly, is this an amendment to an already existing document in city records?
Yes, so we have internal operating procedures when it comes to meetings. And so we would be adding this language to that.
Great.
And we actually already have, we took action following this item.
Thanks. Council members, any Any thoughts or discussion? No, I'll open to comment for members of the public. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the proposed corrective action?
I'll move to approve the proposed corrective action.
I'll
Is there-
second.
I made the proposed corrective action and you ignored it.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That concludes the
Jack, if I may, just real quick.
yes.
So the cure, sorry, this is Mark Tarrant, the attorney for the city. The cure has two parts. One is a ratification, and the second is the adoption. I think as already was discussed last time, I mean, no action took place except coming out of the executive session and then adjourning the meeting. But it strikes me that ratification of that, which occurred, would be appropriate to complete the cure because the cure does have the two parts.
Thanks, Mike. So we should be looking for a motion to ratify the two actions taken coming out of executive session and adjourning the meeting. Someone want to make that motion?
I will move to ratify the two actions coming out of executive session and adjourning the meeting.
Thanks, Sal. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There's a hand up. There's a hand up with Carrie.
Oh, sorry, Carrie.
It's okay. I want to say something after we're done voting.
Okay. Okay, the motion,
Yeah.
the motion carries unanimously, so you're up, Carrie.
I just want to point out that the Vermont League of Cities and Towns has training in open meeting law basics that is coming up on December 10th. And I think it would be very, very good practice for everybody in the city who is part of implementing this law attend such a training. So that would include city councilors and staff, but it also would include committee members and like Board of Civil Authority and all those kinds of things. The groups that are bound by open meeting law, they should all understand it. And so that's, I just want to point out that's a really great resource that's there. At some point, we could possibly talk about requiring it for certain people. I don't know what authority we have to do that, but I would just really encourage us to take advantage of that as much as we can.
Thanks, Carrie. I think that's a great point. Before we adjourn, I've got just two announcements I want to make. One is that I will likely be calling a special meeting on December 18th. We have the candidates coming in for interviews and meeting the public and meeting the staff on December 15th. I think our agenda for December 17th is going to be too much to also squeeze in a full discussion of the city manager hire. So we'll likely be seeing a special meeting for that night so we can keep this process moving along as quickly as we can. Problem for you?
Yeah, and I think we talked about it last time.
Okay, so
but
we'll
we'll
talk.
find a
Me
date.
as well. Also me, yeah. Not that
Thank you. We'll figure it out. Thanks.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, we'll be talking more about the transition for the finance director. And my sense of it is that I don't think posting the opening requires city council action. I think the city manager can do it, and I'm sure that she will be doing it as quickly as possible without waiting for the council to tell her to do it. And
Jim's got his hand.
Jim, sorry.
So is this shelter on the agenda for the 10th?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
A couple of days ago, I asked Kelly to add it to our agenda for the 10th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, folks, thank you. And our business being concluded, we are adjourned at 1:12 p.m. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.